Greetings, friends. I'm AK.
And I'm Laura.
And we are
the Chainsaw Girls. On today's episode, we are covering a sequel to a movie that we both very much enjoyed. Mm-hmm. It is 1994's Night of the Demons 2.
And we hope you enjoyed it too, because we covered the first one very recently.
We sure did, and we enjoyed it.
Yeah, and so we were like, well, we should probably do the second one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember in the first one we did, I told you that I had seen Night of the Demons when I was 9. Mm-hmm. I did see that when I was young. However, I confused it with Night of the Demons 2. I remember specifically because the cover and because the head in the toilet.
I do remember in our intro episode you mentioning this cover specifically.
Yes.
With the lollipop.
Yes. It scared. When I tell you that I didn't sleep for days, I did not sleep for days.
It's terrifying.
It is so scary. Angela is absolutely terrifying in this one. And
the prosthetics, all of the practical effects only got better since the first one.
Yeah.
So even today, I feel like it holds up.
Absolutely.
It's scary.
It's scary and fun.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. Okay. Should I read the IMDb?
Please.
Okay. Here we go. High school students throw a Halloween party in a mansion haunted by a young demon. Straight to the point.
I feel like that's so short for it being a sequel. But that is what it is.
Right to the point. Yes.
And also, I was so pleasantly, not even surprised. I was just so happy with this movie once I watched it. I might even like the second one better than the first one. And you never really know what you're getting into with a sequel.
Yeah.
Sometimes sequels are not better than the first one. And I can't say certainly that this one is. That's subjective. But this one is certainly great too, which doesn't always happen with sequels.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think this one, they had a little bit more fun. With this one, it was a little more campy.
It felt like they had way more practical effects in this one than the first one.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the tone was a little bit different. I liked that we were off. We left the house and we were in different locations.
Yeah.
And I did like that this tied into the first one.
Oh, yeah.
With the characters.
Angela is back. The same actress, Amelia Kincaid, is back.
She's incredible.
Again, incredible, just like the first one.
Really. And I've seen interviews with her, and she's just seems like such a sweetheart. I love hearing her talk about the movies, and she goes to a lot of conventions. I would love to meet her. She just seems awesome.
Oh, same. We must. One day.
One day. Okay, this was released on May 13th, 1994. It went directly to VHS.
Wow.
It had a very limited theatrical release in California.
Okay.
But it still made $2.7 million. So even though it didn't have a theatrical release at the time, in the early 90s, even late 90s, VHS was a huge deal, right?
Yeah.
So it did do really well on VHS.
Yeah.
It had a $1.4 million budget, and it was distributed by Republic Pictures.
Okay, so they did really well, even not going to theater.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to give you some context of what kind of movies came out around the same time, Some Kind of Wonderful. Do you remember that movie?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm like nodding as you're saying that.
Shrunken Heads and Death Wish 3.
That one I know.
They all came out around the same time. It was directed by Brian... God damn. I am so bad with names, guys. Apologies. Brian Trenchard Smith, who I went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino is quoted as saying it's one of his favorite directors.
Okay.
His background is just really fascinating, and if you guys have a chance, I would highly recommend checking it out and just doing a little research on him.
Yeah, I saw some of the quotes that you had from him that were really, really cool.
Yeah, do you mind if I read one?
Please.
I thought this was kind of interesting. He's talking about advice for young directors, and he says, be a good leader, kind father, energetic brigade commander to your cast and crew. No one gives their best in an atmosphere of blame and fear, as happens on big star-driven movies. Humor is much more effective in team management. Try to make your own enthusiasm for the project contagious to everybody else. Then pick locations that have natural production value. Plan well, shot list. Make every hour of shooting count. I love that.
I think that's sound advice.
Really, yeah. Yeah, because being on a stressful set,
Yeah, and you can
not
apply
fun.
that to so many different professions in leadership as well, not just directing a movie.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So interesting guy. Yeah, if you get a chance, take a look. He's done all kinds of stuff. He used to cut trailers. He worked at a news station in Australia for many years. He's got so much experience in not just directing, but like editing and all kinds. So interesting.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
And then this was also written by one of the same writers from Night of the Demons 1,
Yes, that's absolutely right. Joe Augustine.
which is very satisfying to me.
I love it. Yeah, I believe it was co-written by James Penzie, was another writer on it. But yeah, primarily Joe Augustine, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, he brought his vision back to life. I think that's so cool.
Hell yeah. Should we get into the movie?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Let's do it. So we start at Hull House.
Yes. Oh, which, by the way, same house.
Yes.
Same house. And when I was doing my deep dive, all of the locations that they shot in the original Night of the Demons, they were all very close to each other. Like within, like you could see them across the street.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was all in the same neighborhood.
That's really cool. And it's
Yeah.
also really cool that they got to go back to the same house years later, that it was still there. It's since been demolished, right?
Yeah, what a
That does
bummer. I was thinking whenever we go to LA at some point, we should do like find all the filming locations of all these movies and check them out.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I wonder what's there now, if anything.
Probably like a housing development or something
I
like
thought you were
that.
going to say it's probably like a Chipotle or something.
I mean, right?
It
Some
might
kind
be.
of development, yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
So we're at Hull House, and we have, what did you call them in your notes? Religious
Religious door-to-door salespeople.
salespeople. That's, yeah.
Aren't they selling Bibles?
Wait, well, yeah, I think so. They're religious for sure. I didn't know what to call them, so I like that better.
Are they like Jehovah Witness?
That's what I was going to say, but then I'm like, I don't actually know.
I don't know. I don't know if Jehovah Witnesses are Christian because it seemed like they were. Anyway.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't know. But religious door-to-door salespeople, it seems, are coming and they're knocking on the door of Hull House, which is not Hell House, which is what I thought at first in Night of the Demons 1, but it's Hull with a U.
No, there is a movie called Hell House LLC. That's really fun.
Oh, that movie is really good.
Yeah, we should cover it.
I'm down.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. So they are greeted by Angela.
She looks bomb, by the
She
way.
looks great. She is in her black sort of wedding gown, it looks like, with a veil.
Yeah, because
Right?
when we go in and we see the cake,
Yeah.
she's on the top of the cake with Satan. So I'm guessing she is looking for a husband.
And then, yeah, as soon as
she
they
has
come
her
in,
sights set on Lucifer.
and she's like, I'm just about to have some cake. And then we see that the topper, which is her and Satan,
Oh yeah.
is covered in cobwebs. And that was like I don't know why that was the lady's first notion that something was off. She's like, you can see it in her face. She's like, wait a minute.
Hold on, that looks like the devil.
Which I was like, why is she a bride? But it's because in the first one, it was on Halloween and that's what she was dressed as, right? As her costume.
Yeah, she was dressed as like
Some sort of bride.
Now I think she's like, well, since I've got the dress.
Yeah, I mean, she, I guess, died in that costume. So that's just what her demon is dressed as, maybe.
Yeah, and I think she wants to marry
Sure.
her dude.
Satan.
Yeah, you know.
Old boy Satan.
That's all. He's got so many names.
What I wrote down was, the couple start running away, and Angela says, "Don't be silly. It's devil's food."
I loved that line.
There are a couple cheesy lines in this movie, but I do love it.
Yeah, I thought that was really fun. And the knife she uses to cut the cake is ginormous.
Like comical.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay.
So, of course, as the couple is running away, the door slams itself shut. And then Angela hacks them with a machete. I wrote machete. So that makes sense why you said the knife was so big. I don't even think it was a machete.
But it was big enough to look like one.
Exactly. It was just so big that I was like, it's a machete.
Yeah, and their blood kind of like gets sprays all over the place. And she didn't want a Bible. Okay, that's not what she was looking for.
Yeah.
I think she was looking for some sacrifices.
I would say so, for sure. Even
Yeah.
though they didn't count as a sacrifice, apparently, because she's still going to be looking for one soon.
Yes. She's got her eyes set on someone specifically.
Yeah. So now we go to dorms, it looks like.
Yes.
Right.
We're introduced to our boys.
Yeah, and we're starting off hot with titties and full bush.
Oh yeah. They're peeping toms. Full on with binoculars.
Like standing in the window, not even trying to hide. Have you ever tried to peep out your window at your neighbors, like, oh, what's going on out there?
Sure.
And you like,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
peek it just a little bit.
You peek through the blinds, or if you do have a giant open window with no curtain or something, you would like, you know.
You got to kayfabe.
Exactly. You would just peek your head out. You wouldn't just be standing fully in the window.
Do you know what's so funny? Whenever I hear like going down on my street, which is rare, but when it does, like I think the Blade thinks it's hilarious because I'm like, babe, we got to turn the lights off. Hold on, turn the volume down. What's going on out there? You know, like I want to know, like neighborhood watch.
That's me if anyone knocks at my door.
Don't even knock on my door. I'm not going to answer.
My sister and I, we had no idea that we both did this. But if somebody knocks on our door, we don't live together, okay? We live separately, but we realize we do the same thing. If anyone knocks on our door, we like hit the ground. We get on the floor and can like crawl to the window.
Like you drop like a drop down? You're like,
yes. And try to peek out the window because we don't want them to see us in there.
Yeah.
Even though, who cares? Like, if somebody sees that you're in your house, you're not obligated to open the door.
No, hell no. I never do.
But you just feel like, oh, I don't want them to see me.
Yeah, like you don't want to be rude.
And I'm not opening that door.
There's no way. If I don't know, I don't even open it to the Uber Eats. I'm like, you can just leave it on the stairs.
Oh, 100%. So if these religious salespeople came to my door, I would not open the door. I would just wait for them to leave.
Have they ever come to your door? We've had that before.
But I also, oh yeah, they do. But I also, you know, in Angela's case, she knew she was going to hack them with her giant knife. So that's different. I'm not.
Angela said, I opened the door to you.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Come on in. So anyway, sorry about that little sidetrack.
So the gals, no, it's great. The girls are just being girls. They're having a good time. They're all friends with each other. Like if you want to walk around naked, girl, do it.
For it.
And they shouldn't be afraid of boys peeking through the windows. Like, go get a magazine or something.
I mean, they have those too. They do show that later. But no, these are like the horniest boys that ever existed on the planet. Throughout this movie, the things that they say and the way they act.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, they are the epitome of like teenage hormones.
1,000,000% yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we note their names.
Yes.
So we have Perry. Perry wasn't actually one of the ones spying. He is he's supposed to be kind of like a nerd.
He's kind of a nerdy, but obsessed with demonology.
He loves demonology. But something that I pointed out to the Blade, he's actually such a good-looking guy.
Okay.
Like, he's a good-looking kid. And I was like, why, like, he's supposed to be like this nerd and he's like so not cool. But I'm like, he's actually like a good-looking guy. He's smart. Like, he doesn't look that nerdy to me. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it is interesting for a 90s movie to not have like a very stereotypical nerd, quote unquote. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I thought he was, anyway.
I can see what you're saying.
We've got Johnny, who is one of the boyfriends to one of our gals that we'll be introduced to in a minute.
He's the blonde one, right?
He's the blonde one, yes. Then we have Kurt, who he becomes important. These are like the main players. Johnny, Kurt, and Perry.
Yes.
Those are our main guys.
And they're all spying. They're in separate dorms. And we should also mention that it seems like this is some type of maybe Catholic school.
Yes.
It has to be Catholic school,
It is
actually.
absolutely a Catholic school.
It absolutely is a Catholic school.
And at some point, it is said that it's like a school for troubled teenagers.
Right. And you know that they're troubled because in one scene they're smoking cigarettes.
Oh boy, not the cigarettes. So our gals sit down for story time.
Yes, and we should mention their names too because they're all going to be important.
Yes, please go.
So we have BB, we have Shirley, and we have Terry. Terry is played by Christine Taylor, which immediately I got excited about. I love Christine Taylor. She's in so many movies. One of my favorite movies that she's in is The Wedding Singer, which I feel like is a very underrated movie because I don't hear as many people talking about it, as obsessed with it as I am. But she's great. Great comedy actress as well.
She's so funny. And, you know, when I watched an interview with her talking about this movie, and she loved shooting it. She had so much fun. The whole cast, like, had a blast.
Yeah.
And she loves horror movies, which makes me love her even more.
Yes, that makes me so happy.
Yeah, she's awesome.
That is always a great feeling because it would make me feel so bad if she was like, oh, I hated that movie.
Yeah, I always feel like sad when like movies I loved like wasn't actually a great experience for the people shooting it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, she loves horror movies. So yeah, so they're sitting around and they're talking about what happened in the first film.
Yeah, so Terry it sounds like they're telling scary stories, and then you realize they're telling the lore of Hull House.
That's exactly right. Terry, and it seems like BB and Shirley already have an idea of what happened at Hull House, so it's kind of like an urban legend. And, you know, they're kind of like trying to scare each other a little bit, and they're talking about what happens, and then in comes Mouse. She's another character. Her actual name is Melissa.
Right.
They call her Mouse.
Yes.
And she comes in and she says something to the effect of like, some things shouldn't be joked about.
Yeah.
She's very upset.
Yes. And you start to see a figure in a black dress creeping toward their room as they're telling these stories. And you're like, oh, is this Angela? And it ends up being a nun. Sister Gloria is her name, right?
Sister G. We love Sister G.
They call her, a couple points in the movie, it sounded like they called her something different. So I looked up her name, but it is Gloria,
Yeah,
right?
Sister Gloria, yeah.
Sister Gloria. And that's when you realize, okay, they're in like a Catholic boarding school.
That's right. And Sister Gloria, the actress that plays Sister Gloria, I mean, she has been in so many things. She was in Slumber Party Massacre too.
Yes.
And Heathers. She has a small role in the original Halloween. I don't know if she's credited for it, but she rocks. I really like her.
Yeah, me too. Mm-hmm. She's pretty badass in this movie too.
She is the ultimate like kick-ass nun.
She has to be one of the best nuns ever.
Agree. If we're gonna rate nuns, Sister G, she is the top of the list.
Top 3 for sure.
Oh yeah.
So Angela appears to Melissa in a dream. Mm-hmm. And she rips her jaw off.
It's really gross.
Yeah, the effect
cool.
is gross.
Yeah.
And when she appears to her at first, she looks kind of normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's normal Angela. And then as she's ripping her jaw off, you can see she starts to transform a little bit, but I don't think fully. And Angela calls her sis in this dream. So you realize, at first I'm like, wait, is that her sister? But you find out Mouse is Angela's little sister.
Yes.
So now we have a connection.
I love the tie-in. I thought it was great. And I
Me too.
guess apparently the original version of this movie, the scene where she's ripping her face off, it goes a little longer. They had to cut it a bit, I think, probably for the rating. There might be an extended version, though, where you can see the full...
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in 2023, there was a Blu-ray released, right? And
Yeah.
with some extended features.
Shout Factory, maybe?
Yes, that sounds
Think?
right.
Yeah.
And I really want it because I imagine the version that I watched probably wasn't that version.
I think so, too. I will say, since we started this podcast, like, my urge for physical copies of everything...
Same.
Yeah, dude.
Especially with the director's cut, and extended scenes and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really a DVD or Blu-ray collector, but now I want to start collecting them.
Me too. I started with VHS. We got a collection of VHSs.
Hell yeah. Love VHS.
So Moose.
Mouse. Is that what you were going to say? You know, it's not far off.
So Mouse wakes up from this dream screaming, and she startles all the other girls in the dorm with her. And they're all just like, oh my God, Mouse. Like, they're all kind of irritated by her.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like, Terry and Shirley are quite rude to Mouse. They kind of bully her. And BB is the only one out of the trio that I think has, like, a little more compassion. She's kinder to Mouse. The other 2 girls are pretty mean to her.
And they're over it.
Yeah.
Shirley especially.
Shirley is not... She's a mean girl, man.
Yeah, she's definitely a mean girl.
But what a voice. Her voice is like...
She has a little bit of rasp.
Oh, it's like... Yeah, she just has a really beautiful voice.
Yeah, that actress is amazing. She sadly passed away in 2023.
She did?
Yeah, right before that Blu-ray came out, actually.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was bummed.
That is so...
She was also a trained dancer. She did a lot of that after her acting career. So it's very interesting when you see the scenes in this movie where she will eventually have a dancing scene. I know, it's so sad.
No, I'm so sad. I had no idea. R.I.P. That's
Yeah.
heartbreaking. Okay. Bummer.
But great voice. She has a
Beautiful.
great part in this movie.
Yeah, she's great in it. She really is.
But she is a mean girl, we'll say that.
Yes, she is. She's a mean girl. And they're going to class now.
Yeah.
Okay, they're in class with Sister G.
Yes.
And the girls are kind of... It seems like this is like sex ed or something like that, right?
Yeah, I
Would you
think
say?
the Sister Gloria, her class was teaching sex ed.
It was sex ed.
Yeah.
Okay. And the girls are they're kind of like fucking with her a little bit. Mm-hmm. And is it Shirley that asks her about kissing, or is it Terry?
No, it's Terry.
Terry says, is it a sin to kiss someone? Or
Yeah.
whatever. Do you have the quote? Because I have the quote.
I do think I wrote it down, but go ahead if you have it ready.
Okay, so did I jump ahead? Have we met Father Bob?
No, not yet.
Okay, well
I think that's why.
Okay, well, let me. I'll just finish the scene and we'll hop back to Father Bob. But when they're in class, Terry says, "Is it a sin to kiss someone?" And Sister G says, "A kiss is a sin when it is the upper persuasion for a lower invasion."
Oh, yeah, that one.
I died. I started.
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard I was almost in tears.
Yeah, that was great.
And very like, okay, here, look at. We're not derailing too far.
No.
But this is a movie based in a Catholic boarding school, let's call it, okay?
Yeah.
I grew up in a Catholic home / Christian home. So I lived with my dad sometimes. I lived with my mom, my grandma sometimes. My dad was extremely Christian. I've told you this.
Yeah.
My grandma was extremely Catholic. My mom was somewhere in the middle. She's very Christian now, but at the time, somewhere in the middle. Not having sex before marriage and the guilt that is like was drilled into my head.
Oh, yeah.
From such a young age, not so much from my mom, but from my dad and my grandmother.
Yeah.
This like exactly what she says is pretty much exactly how it kind of was back then for me.
Oh, yeah, same.
Right?
Same. Coming from a Catholic household, and not even a super strict Catholic household with my mom, but even then, it was, I think, religion plus society that still had her, trying to instill the same things. Not as strict as you're seeing in this movie.
Right.
But it's still there.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom was really good about it. My mom wasn't very, very religious. So she was really open to discussing a lot of things with me when I was quite young. But man, that fear of God, that having sex was a sin, honestly, if I'm being completely real with you, my head up for a very long time.
No, for real.
Yeah.
And placing a value on your virginity, your sexuality, your body.
Like you're dirty if you do that.
I'm like, we could get into a whole separate conversation about that because I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so that scene where she says, like, it's a whatever lower invasion, I was so struck by that because I was like, man, this is a really and I don't think it is as intense now as it was probably back then.
I guess it depends. It doesn't feel that way in society now.
Right.
But I'm sure it still is in religious households or communities for sure.
Oh, yeah. That's actually a really, really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry. I got us off course for a second.
No, it's not even off course because there are so many religious aspects to this movie. The whole theme is based around religion and Catholicism in particular. So it's really not off topic.
Yeah, really, it's very heavy handed.
And we have a lot of experience with this specific religion. So I feel like we can talk about it.
Sure do. Okay, sorry, let's rewind.
No, because in that scene also, before we do rewind, after Terry says that, then Shirley says, Sister Gloria, is fellatio a sin? And then Sister Gloria is like, I don't know what that means, basically. She's like, can you please explain what that means to the whole class?
Yeah, like, I mean, she's definitely with Shirley back.
She is, but I was kind of surprised too because I thought Shirley was going to be like, whoa, but she was a little embarrassed. And then Sister Gloria's like, what's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Which I thought was going to come back in the end, but it doesn't.
It doesn't at all. And I kind of feel like it lets us know that Sister Gloria, even though she is a nun and all of that, like, she isn't afraid to
push back a little bit.
Yeah. Without just hitting people with the ruler. Because, man, oh, man, this scene we're about to talk about with Father Bob, I mean, Sister G knows how to use that ruler.
Oh, yeah.
Yardstick. It's a yardstick.
Yes, a yardstick. And I think she does allude to at one point, like, if this was back in the day with my ruler, and they're like, you do what? I know we're kind of jumping around, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Like she alludes to, like, I would have whooped your ass with this ruler if this was not the 90s.
I mean, we're in her room. Sorry, we're going to rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
We're in her room, and she is fencing with the yardstick.
Like, straight up, like, touche.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder what her life was like before this. Like, did she learn fencing secretly? Was she allowed to learn fencing?
Yeah.
Is that allowed in nun school? Like, I don't know.
Was this a profession she did before? Was this a hobby she picked up during? Yeah, for sure. But she clearly, this is some type of hobby for her.
For sure. Yeah.
And she seems well versed, even though she's not using, I don't even know what it's called. Is it a sword?
With the little tiny fencing swords?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think so.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
So, because the father comes in as she's doing this, and they start discussing there's a school dance coming up, and they're just not on the same page here.
No, Father Bob seems a little more lax. I know he does say something to Sister G about... Sister G says something like, well, you know, they're here because they're bad kids or whatever, and Father Bob basically tells her, like, you know, we're here to teach them a different way. Like, they don't... We're not here to, like, discipline them and treat them like XYZ. We're here to show them there's a different way to live.
Right.
Essentially. So he comes across as a little more laid back than her.
Yeah. We also have a scene here where the three girls, BB, Terry, and Shirley, are gossiping. They're sitting around gossiping about Melissa and Angela.
Oh, it's so nasty what they say here.
Yeah. They're talking about how Melissa's parents received a letter. This letter that was, like, decrepit and covered in dead bugs, and probably on Halloween, I'm assuming, they had received this letter, and it was signed by Angela, and they swear it was with her actual signature, and that they were so upset that after they received that letter, they ended up committing suicide.
Yeah, and this is after Angela had gone missing.
Right.
So, you know, already they've lost a child.
Yeah.
And now they're receiving pranks about their kid, which obviously
Possibly.
we know that it wasn't a prank, but
Right.
I just can't imagine the level of distraught they must have been. And then they take their own lives, and then these girls are joking about Mouse Melissa. I'm gonna call her Mouse throughout the movie,
Yeah.
but that she's an orphan, and they're just not.
Yeah.
That's not it, man.
People have been horrible since the beginning of time, straight up, because even going back to maybe that letter being a prank, they don't know. We know that it was probably from Angela for real as a demon, but people really do things like that. There are so many true crime cases where if a child is missing, people will call in and give fake tips, lying that they'll confess to a murder that they didn't do or give tips that are not real. And I'm talking like way back in the day before any type of technology, where people were writing in letters to lie about confessing to a murder. Like, people have just always been horrible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that oh God.
It really does happen.
That is a deep dive
I know.
for sure. But no, you're right.
Can you tell I've been listening to a lot of true crime lately?
No, but it's so true. I think people are want attention, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes they go to very extreme, bizarre lengths to get that attention, right? People confess to murders all the time when they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, do you want attention that bad? There's definitely some psychological issue there. I would think.
They get some sick thrill over feeling power over this situation, or
like knowing something that you don't know.
Yeah, or making someone feel so bad. Like they were like, oh, I don't know. I don't really understand the full psychology behind it. I'm sure there's a lot of different issues that go into it.
Sure.
But yeah, so people really do pranks like that. So I understand why they would be so distraught, thinking, of course, this is someone pranking us.
Yeah, for sure. And the way that Terry and Shirley are talking about it is so heartless. BB isn't really along for the ride. I think as the movie goes on, you can see that she really does have compassion for Mouse, but Terry and Shirley are just very
Callous.
young. Yeah, and it's like their prefrontal lobe, is that it? That it's not fully formed yet.
No.
So they've got a lack of
my
empathy.
Gosh. Yes, I remember. I know I feel like we're sidetracking so much during this, but it's okay. We have
We got it. It's all right.
okay. I remember things that children said in like my middle school or just high school, teenage years, just the most awful things, kids would say to each other just to like dig as deep as you possibly could, like the worst things you can imagine.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, after my dad died, there was some. There have been some very mean comments.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was in middle school, and there was definitely some.
That's horrible.
Yeah, but kids can be cruel. You know, they
So
don't.
cruel.
I think sometimes they just don't have they don't know how to put themselves in other people's shoes yet. They're too
Yeah.
young to do that.
Yeah.
And I think this is a good example of that.
Yeah.
These two young gals.
Yeah, we're
here.
seeing that here for sure.
Yeah.
So that's our deep dive on the psychology of these children. Sorry.
Hope you're sticking with us here.
Yeah. So we then go to the boys in class, right? Who
Oh, and Sister Gloria does catch them gossiping.
Yes.
She ain't too happy about this. In fact, this is going to lead to bigger consequences as the film progresses.
Yes, and there is one part where there are two kids that are a little too close.
Yes.
And she puts her ruler in between them and says, "Leave a little room for the Holy Ghost."
And she does say that quite a few times.
She says it a few times.
It's her line.
Yeah, so
her
I
party
wanted
line.
to mention that because it's a thing. It's her catchphrase.
God, and it really does go hand in hand with Catholic guilt. Dear Lord.
For real. I feel like it was
Like he's always watching.
leave a little room for Jesus. That's
Yeah.
the one that I would always hear.
Yeah, leave a little. But the thought of like he's just watching you all the time.
All the time.
But and I don't mean that in like I mean like that it was like sold as a scary thing, you know?
Yes.
Like you better f***ing watch yourself because he's got eyes on you at
Yeah,
all times. Like
for sure.
jeez, okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. So we're saying like sorry. So many. You got a Tim Hortons in your hand, you know, all the Canadian is coming out. Sorry about that. We're gonna stop apologizing, okay? We're just gonna go through it.
Let's keep going.
So the boys are in class with Father Bob.
Yeah.
Right? And they're not doing sex ed. They're going through like catechism. Mm-hmm. And Perry, we find out here, is obsessed with demonology. He has a lot of questions.
Yeah, he's got a lot of questions for Father Bob, man.
Yeah. And he's asking the father, that sounds weird. He's asking Father Bob to discuss demonology from a religious standpoint, which I feel like that's fair.
I agree.
But
yeah.
also, Father Bob is like, bro, this is not demonology 101. This is catechism. Relax.
Father Bob, you'll see as the movie progresses, he even though he's a priest, he doesn't really buy into demons being real. He just doesn't seem like he believes that stuff, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Coming from a priest.
Right.
In fact, I thought he was sus for like half the movie.
Me too. I was just going to say that I immediately was like, oh, he has to be in on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to like lure the kids to.
Me too. Multiple points in the movie, I was like, oh, here we go.
Yes. I was like, and when they went back to Hull House, I was like, oh, here it comes.
So I was wondering if they were doing that on purpose as a little swerve or if, I don't know, it just came off that way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. But Perry is really into demonology. He's asking lots of questions.
Yeah.
And Father Bob is he's not about it.
Yeah. The boys at one point call Perry the Sexorcist. I'm wearing an exorcist shirt right now.
The Sexorcist.
Which I wrote down would be a great porno name. And I feel like it probably already exists, to be honest.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't know,
yeah.
but probably. So the next scene, we go to the tennis court.
Yes, that is right. With Kurt, Shirley, Johnny, and BB.
Yes.
And Terry.
And the boys are just the horniest teenagers that could ever exist in the world.
Oh, yeah, for
like,
sure.
Comically almost.
Yeah, definitely.
And Kurt tosses a basketball at Shirley. She catches it in between her thighs.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. And Kurt walks up to Shirley and he's like, "Hey, I'm Kurt. The ladies call me King Snake."
I mean, but
Sir.
what does she say back to him?
She says something like, "I'll call you Inchworm."
Yeah, I was
Or
like, yeah, girl.
something like more like Inchworm. I'm like, got him.
I thought that was pretty funny.
It was funny, but I was like, King Snake? Like, how cringe.
Can you imagine?
But then they start fighting over the ball.
Yeah, and
And-
it is very it's very high school.
It's very high school,
yeah,
yes.
they're like play fighting, and Shirley's kind of like messing with him a little bit, but then
Yeah.
obviously you know that she's getting a kick out of it too, and they're just having fun.
Yeah, and then they fall on top of each other and they're
Yeah.
rolling around on this concrete.
And it's totally like that thing in high school where like, I don't know, it's just kind of silly.
yeah.
It's just they like each other. It's, it's just kids.
And the boy's flirting and the girl's like being mean to him, but she's also like,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sister Gloria sees this. She comes like power walking in.
Oh, she is pissed.
She is very pissed.
She got her yardstick. She is not having any of this.
And I think this is a scene where she's like, if this was back in the day. And Shirley's like, or what? Like bossing up on her.
Yeah, and then she bans them all from the dance. Which
And
we
she's
also, we forgot to mention, very important part of this movie. 1 is Halloween, and 2, there's a big dance happening at the boarding school.
Yes.
I don't think we brought that up, did we?
I said it very briefly when we are introduced to Father Bob. He mentions the dance, but then it's okay. Sister Gloria was doing fencing, and that was like a bigger part of that scene. I very casually breezed over it. But yes, this is a big part. There is a dance, and now they can't go, and they are pissed.
They're pissed because this is like a co-ed situation, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't really do this kind of stuff at school, so it's a big deal.
And not only is Shirley and Kurt banned, but now she also banned BB, and is it Johnny that was there?
Just for being present.
She's like, all 4 of you can't go now. And they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're upset about this.
Yeah. They don't have a lot of fun here, so they were looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So we go to Perry now, who looks like he's in Father Bob's office or something.
He is. He's in Father Bob's like study or whatever.
I was gonna say lair.
His lair is his lair.
It is kind of. It's like his little den.
He's got a big ass mirror in there.
A giant mirror, and he's wearing, I wrote the priest dress cloak thing. Father Bob says what it is, but I didn't catch the name of what the actual garment is that he's wearing. But he's wearing one of Father Bob's
Like get-ups.
Yeah. And he is doing a ritual in the mirror.
He sure is. He's got a big ass book of demonology in front of him.
Of course, he's obsessed with it.
And he is summoning Angela. He doesn't know it, but
Yeah.
he is summoning a demon. Now, I'm not entirely sure what his end game is here. I think he believes in the history of Hull House, perhaps because it's Halloween, right? Like he is just really interested.
He's trying to get to the bottom of something, of some type of lore. He's drawn an elaborate pentagram on the ground, and he starts reciting something. I don't know if this is Latin because it's Catholic school. I'm going to assume it's Latin, and just, look, if you can take one thing away from this podcast, just never recite Latin, okay? Never. Unless you actually speak Latin, then that's different. But I feel like the majority of you probably don't.
Wait, hold the phone. Are you about to talk Latin?
No. Oh, what? I just said never recite Latin.
I thought you were like preemptively saying like, guys, don't do this at home. But, and you were about to say it all. I was like, yes.
Don't do this at home, but this is what Perry says. I don't even know where the hell we were in this story.
Okay.
Oh wait, Perry. We just said that at the same time. Maybe the coffee's hitting a little too hard right now. Just bear with us.
Okay.
Perry has maybe unintentionally, but sort of intentionally summoned Angela, who now lunges out of the mirror at him. Yes.
Lunges through the mirror.
Lunges through the mirror at Perry. And
Father Bob shows up.
Yes.
And he's like, what are you doing? He doesn't believe that. It's interesting. This is why I thought he was sus. Because he doesn't believe Perry at all. But he's annoyed at the situation, which I get. Because Perry's like dressed like him.
Yeah, he's like, why are you wearing my thing?
Yeah, he's kind of like, what are you doing? And even though the mirror's broken, he's just very like, okay, this is annoying. Like, can you just get the out of here? Like, he just seems irritated.
He doesn't say that verbatim, but basically that's what he's saying. And Perry is telling him, like, oh, Angela exists and it's Hull House. He's like telling him the whole lore.
Yeah.
And she's a demon. And he's just like, all right, like, can you please take off my thing and get out?
Yeah, he's like, it's late. Okay.
Yeah.
I got an early morning. Can you just get out of my office?
So then we see Shirley and Kurt, who are in a car making out. We cut to that. And we find out that she's trying to get him to bring Johnny to this party that they're now going to have on their own because they can't go to the dance. So they're like, whatever, we're going to have our own party.
Oh my God. She says it's the best party of the year. All the cool people are going or something like that.
And it's like, were you already planning on this, or didn't you just plan this because you're banned from the dance?
Yeah. And also like there's like 6 people and we're half of them. So what are you talking about?
But she's just trying to sell it to him, right?
Really hard, yeah.
She really wants him to get Johnny to go. And then she's annoyed that he might not be able to do it. She's like, oh, you can't even get your friend to go? I can't even believe I let you touch me.
I know.
Like,
she
wait, what?
is really, yeah.
So
She's something, man.
and we find out she is just using him and making out with him to try to get him to bring Johnny.
To bring Johnny, to bring BB, to bring Terry, and ultimately to bring our gal Mouse.
To bring Mouse.
So at some point, as this is all happening, I can't recall it. At some point, the whole school is sort of together. I don't know where they're going. They're just. It's a very brief scene, but we see that Perry loses his demonology book, and there's a shot of Shirley like seeing it. I don't know if she like trips him or she distracts him, but it's kind of obvious that she has taken his book.
Yeah.
And he thinks that Kurt and Johnny stole his book.
Yeah.
And it's important to note that because it does come into play later.
Yes. So then the girls that are getting dressed for the dance in the room, Mouse is dressed in like this big red muumuu with like a frilly red collar. So
She's a clown, right?
yes, okay, so that's what I was thinking. At first I was like, why is she wearing this to a dance? And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's Halloween. So it's probably a costume party. It never is specified because she ends up not going to the dance.
Right.
So I think she stopped getting ready in her full costume. But at first I was like, what the hell is she wearing?
I think she looks so cute.
She does look really cute.
Oh, and Shirley has also made invitations
Yes.
with like a map drawn on it.
A map drawn on like a pentagram up top.
I mean-
or a star. Is there a difference?
Yeah, I think it's a pentagram.
Okay.
It is for sure.
Okay.
And I don't know why. I just thought it was funny that she like drew a map on it.
Yeah. Like this is how you get there. Shirley also tells the girls now to get Mouse to come to their secret party.
Yeah, and Shirley sells it like, well, Sister Gloria told us to be nice to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure you just had to change a heart, Shirley.
Yeah. So they all sneak out. They get into the car, and Shirley introduces everyone to Rick, who's driving the car.
Oh, how old is Rick?
Rick is definitely not a high schooler.
No,
Even
absolutely
though
not.
the actors kind of all look the same age, but these are supposed to be high school kids. Rick is an adult.
I mean, he looks to me, he looks like he's in his late 20s.
For sure.
Like
For sure.
he looks older than them.
Yeah.
Even for 80s standard, he looks
Yeah.
older than them. Yeah.
So she's introducing.
I was gonna say he's I mean, he's in the movie. He's like a terrible guy, but he plays it really well.
He does.
I think the actor is really fun. He's great.
Yeah, and his
Yeah.
real name is Rick also, which is funny.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah, he's great in it. I think he's funny.
I didn't go in a super deep dive, but I also did notice he's from Detroit. Whoop whoop, represent.
Oh.
And it was bothering me because I'm like, I know his face. Where is he from? He is in Dexter season 4. I was obsessed with Dexter.
You're right.
I loved that. I loved that whole series. And he was like,
I think season 4 was the best season.
season 4 was a great season. He was Dexter and Rita's neighbor. He develops a love interest in Rita.
Oh.
If you watched that, maybe you recall. But I knew his face from somewhere.
Yeah.
But yes, Rick in this movie is introduced to everyone and then immediately says, "Come here, sweet tits," to Shirley, and then starts making out with her, who is a high school student.
Yes, and Shirley. It's not funny. It's terrible. But Kurt gets in the car thinking that he's going to hook up with Shirley, and no, her and Rick are just all over each other.
Yeah, so Kurt's obviously upset. He's like, she was just making out with me. I thought that we were going to be a thing.
Yeah.
You know, rightfully so. I understand why he would think that.
Right. No.
But she had
No.
other plans.
She sure did. Yeah, she definitely used him.
Rick also says at one point, because the kids are asking him, like, so where are you from or whatever? And he's like, I'm from the school of hard knockers.
He's so lame. It's just so, you know what it is? It's like, because he's older than all of them, like he thinks he's so cool.
Yeah.
When like every other adult is looking at you, and this is a PSA for any older adults that are hanging out with people that are much younger than them.
Yeah.
Like high schoolers, for example.
Yeah.
Other adults don't think you're cool. They think you're lame and you shouldn't be hanging out with children.
And they think you're a creep.
They think you're a creep. But high school kids, they don't think so.
And
Shirley
that's-
probably thinks he's cool because he's older and, you know.
He has a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
It
can
ain't
buy
cool.
alcohol maybe, I don't know.
It
But
ain't cool.
That happens in real life all the time. And I think that's usually why those kind of people like to hang out with high schoolers, because the high schoolers can't see through them like adults can.
1,000,000% yes. So we thought we'd just point that one out.
Knock it off.
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing that I do love in this car scene is that Rick calls Terry Marcia,
Yes.
which I had to look into. So I started doing a little research because I'm like, hold up, I know that Christine Taylor plays Marcia Brady eventually. And the Brady Bunch movie came out the year after this. So I'm like, it had to have been filming in 94 if it came out in 95. But Night of the Demons 2, since it came out in 94, was filming in like 93.
Yeah.
So I was so curious. I'm like, did she already have this role and he knew it and he was saying that as like a little like, but I know that you also looked into it and it kind of seemed like it was just a coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, from everything that I read, it seems like it was just. I mean, I think I read that it was ad-libbed because she looks like Marcia.
Yeah, I'm sure that's why a huge part of why she got cast as Marcia. But I just thought that was so funny because she does play Marcia Brady the next year.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I thought that was fun too.
And so at first I also, because I didn't catch her name at first, I was like, oh, is her character's name Marcia? And then I looked it up and I'm like, no.
No.
So that's even more weird. But yeah, I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah, no, it's great. I thought it was great too.
So we see back at the dorm, Perry has stayed behind and he's snooping through people's things. He's trying to find his book.
Yeah, he's trying to find his book. And doesn't he open up one of them's bags? Is it Kurt's bag? And there's like porno in it.
Like a Playboy or something.
A Playboy. And in the Playboy, he finds the invitation for the party.
And now he, of course, has that map. He knows how to get there.
And he pieces together right away that this is Hull House.
And that it's something demonic.
Absolutely. He seems really interested in Hull House. But
Yeah.
like I was like that when I was a kid too. I get why this kid is like, oh, I've discovered something.
Yeah, and like,
you know,
almost like a morbid obsession.
yeah, for sure.
For sure. Mm-hmm. So as the kids are driving, we see that someone or something switches a sign on the road that says which direction is the Hull House.
It reminded me of like a cartoon.
Yeah, like literally there's an arrow and he just swings it the other way.
Yeah,
like very
yeah.
Wile E. Coyote. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yes, yes.
And then they turn. I was a little confused by this because he turns it to where it points that Hull House is in the opposite direction. Oh wait, that does make sense.
Yeah,
never mind.
Because essentially they don't want the kids to know that they're going to Hull House.
Yes, I was thinking he was tricking them to going to Hull House, but it's not. He's trying to make sure that the other kids in the back, like BB, don't know they're going to Hull House on purpose.
Exactly, especially Mouse, because as we'll find out, Mouse is going to lose her when she finds out.
And so it's funny because at the end, he takes off his mask or whatever he was wearing, and it's revealed. And I was like,
what is his name? Zed Dog or something?
Z-Boy.
Wait, hold on.
Zed Dog.
Hold on a second. I think I wrote Zed Dog in my entire notes.
Okay, I couldn't understand what they were saying because it's not a real name. So at first, you know what I thought they were calling him? Devon. I heard Devon. So in my entire notes, I had to go back and erase it. And then when I did finally hear it toward the end, I was like, oh, it's D-Boy. But it's not D-Boy, it's Z-Boy. And
Z-Boy, I'm sorry.
I always forget in Canada you say Zed for Z.
Zed, yeah. I'm going to keep calling him Zed Dog. Sorry, guys.
Zed
That's
Dog.
his name, and he deserves it. He's such an idiot.
But I love when they revealed it. I was like, and it's, who was that? Because we didn't meet him yet.
We haven't met him yet. No, exactly. He just comes across as like just like a little weirdo.
He's like, you can tell he's a bad boy, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like he got some curly blonde hair and a leather jacket.
What do you think his name is? Zach? Do you think his name is Zachary? And he's like, well, this ain't cool.
It has to be.
I'm going to call myself Zed Dog.
Z-Boy. Zed Dog. I like that so much better. So yes, they get to Hull House and Mouse, as you mentioned, loses her. She freaks out, rightfully so.
Oh, yeah. She does not want to go in there. I wouldn't blame her. She's freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
And she's mad at BB because earlier in the movie, it was really BB that kind of convinced her to come. And BB's just so nice to her. So she's not expecting to get like the wool. What is it? The wool pulled over her? Is that what it's called?
The rug pulled out from underneath her?
I don't know.
The wool pulled over your eyes? Wait, that's like if you're, I don't know.
Okay. Well,
Something like
I tried.
the wool pulled out from... Now it's going to bother me.
I don't know. But anyways, she feels duped.
There you go.
She's upset, and she is not going into Hull House.
And honestly, even if I didn't have a connection to that house or, you know, my sister wasn't, I don't know, hadn't disappeared there or something,
Yeah.
I still wouldn't want to go in that house.
I wouldn't go in that house.
It looked terrifying.
There's not a chance in hell I would go in there.
But we find
But
out...
as a teenager, would you have gone in there? Yeah, I would have for
I
sure.
don't know because I was so, like I mentioned, I was so morbidly obsessed with Eloise, but I still didn't really want to go in. I wanted someone else to go in and tell me what they saw.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Sacrifice yourself. I
Yeah.
want to know.
If you want to go in, go ahead. Just let me know how it goes. But we find out that no one knew except for Shirley and Rick, it seemed like.
That's right.
And Z-Boy.
And the rest of the group, they don't really want to go inside. Like they're kind of like, this sucks. Like we want to leave, and it's kind of pitched like, well, we're already here.
Yeah.
And we got all the party supplies, so like let's just go and hang with the demons. You know.
And Mouse, I loved that she stayed in the car.
Oh, she's like, I'm not going inside.
Because that you're thinking like, well, just don't go in. You have free will, and she stays inside. Which also, when you see someone doing that, you're like, okay, but that would be scary too, to be by yourself.
Yeah, no, for sure. And as this is going on, we do cut back and forth to Perry and I was going to call her Mrs. G, Sister Gloria.
Yeah.
And we kind of get an idea of the dance. It's very, very boring. It's not really happening. She's kind of walking around with the yardstick and she keeps saying like, leave room for Jesus. She's not really letting people have a good time.
Yeah, and they're upset that she's trying to play Neil Diamond and Barry Manilow. I'm like, open your minds a little bit, kids.
I mean, it was pretty funny at one point. It was like one of the kids has a record, and I think it's Barry Manilow, and he's just like, and he like throws it.
I think it's Johnny. He just like tosses it behind him. You know, it was the grunge era. They wanted to hear something more modern, right?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. They're teenagers. They're kids.
So back at Hull House, as soon as they get in, Shirley immediately starts yelling for Angela. Such a dick move. Like, it's just annoying.
I'm trying to recall.
It's just right when they first walk in and they're getting acquainted.
That's right. She's just being an asshole.
Yeah.
Oh, Angela.
And then, does she spray paint that pentagram on the wall?
She does.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Like,
I looked away for like 1 second and I'm like, wait, did she put that there?
But what are the eyes behind it?
That's why I was confused, because I was like, wait, did she also spray paint those? Because they're above the pentagram.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they were already there. Because it is a funeral parlor, so maybe that was like, I don't know, the Lord's eyes.
Well, also, we end up seeing, like, remember those little black dots appear on the pentagram, and she's like, oh, this paint sucks. You got...
Yeah,
So,
it's almost like goo.
yeah, so it's definitely whatever is possessing this house that is now coming through as well. And that seems to be what wakes up Angela.
Yeah, I mean, I think Angela is already awake.
That's true, because she was appearing.
And she killed those, I was going to call them Jehovah's Witnesses, but she killed the salespeople earlier in the movie.
Right.
So she's definitely still active, I think. But I would imagine, like, the energy from the kids coming in there, she sees this as an opportunity to escape.
Right, because as soon as that pentagram is drawn, we see that same Evil Dead POV shot of seemingly like a demon or a spirit kind of traveling through the house like we did in the first one.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's neat. And they have, like, some surprise. Shirley's got like a surprise for the group.
Yeah.
She's kind of like saying that. She's kind of like, oh, I got a surprise, blah, blah, blah. Johnny and BB they want to go for a walk.
Yeah, they all kind of start branching off.
They do. And it's kind of funny because Kurt is standing there and he's like, you know, I don't have a date. And Terry's like, I don't either, kind of vibes. No one's saying it out loud, but I want to say it's BB or Johnny. It's like, well, you're not actually alone. And so Kurt and Terry decide to go explore by themselves.
Yeah, they like look at each other and they're like, oh.
They're like, well, I guess, let's go.
Yeah. So Terry is with Kurt, BB is with Johnny, and Rick and Shirley are staying back in like this area by the fireplace or whatever, on this table that Rick rolled in from the morgue.
Yeah, like a gurney, like a like an autopsy table.
Yeah,
or where the morticians would like zhuzh up the bodies.
Yeah, yeah, a little zhuzh.
You know.
And so once the other kids,
by the way, can I say, like the makeup? I don't know if it's come a long way since the last few funerals that I've been to, but oh my, sometimes the makeup is like
for the bodies.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes it looks a little heavy-handed.
I think I can only imagine how difficult that job is.
Yeah.
And no matter what they do, they're never going to look alive because they're not. You know, I think that the bodies are always going to look different. Every funeral I've gone to, it's like you always think like that does not look like them.
I will say, for my own point of view, I don't like open caskets at all.
I could see that.
I hate that the last image I have of my dad is in a casket. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't look like him.
Mine too. Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And their body looks small, and it's
sunken, like frail.
sunken. Yeah. And it's like, I don't ever want that for myself.
Yeah.
Don't look at me when I'm just a corpse.
Yeah.
You know?
I can see that. One of my first memories, possibly the first funeral I went to, was one of my great aunts. And I remember being at the casket, and I had to have been like 10 or under maybe. And I remember slowly like touching her.
Yeah.
And as soon as I touched her, I like jumped back because she
Yeah.
was cold, and it just freaked me out to feel like a body like
Yeah.
that. And I remember my grandma like appeared behind me and was like, "It's okay." It was just like so creepy. That memory is just burned in my brain.
Yeah.
But I find it more disturbing to see elderly people like that, like my grandparents, because their skin when they were alive is like, wrinkled and kind of saggy. When they're in the casket, it's like pulled back, and you can't help it. That's just naturally how it is. So that makes them look so weird. And you're like,
Yeah.
that is not my grandpa. You know?
I have never seen a body in a casket and thought that looks just like my loved one.
Yeah.
Never. My
Yeah.
grandma, same thing. Like,
I could see people getting closure from that, but I can also totally understand why people do not like that.
yeah, it definitely didn't give me closure. I
Yeah.
don't like that that's the last memory that I have
Yeah.
that like is burned in my brain.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know, it's that thing too of like when somebody dies, I think seeing the body helps your brain understand the finality of that. Finality? Whatever
Yeah.
the word is. You know what I mean? So I do understand the purpose of it. Because in some ways, it's like once you see that, you're like, oh no, this person's not coming back. Like,
Yeah.
now I can connect that.
Yeah, it can be almost symbolic too, like closing the casket is the goodbye.
But from the amount of funerals that I've been to, I can't say that I would be ever comfortable showing people what I look like as a corpse.
Yeah.
Just burn me, man.
Though I will also say I've been to a funeral before where the body wasn't there and I thought it was going to be, and for some reason it didn't upset me, but it almost was disappointing. And I don't know why, because I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I think maybe it was just because I had a different expectation, and I was thinking I was gonna maybe bracing myself for that, and then not experiencing it made me feel like I was missing something.
Yeah, like we're saying the closure.
Yeah.
That you're expecting some type of closure.
Yeah.
But you don't even. I mean, I certainly did not get that from funerals. In fact, I don't even want a funeral.
Okay.
I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, have a fun celebration. Do you know, okay, we're going off topic here, but I'll wrap this really fast. But before my dad passed, he had said to me when I was quite young to not wear black to funerals because it's not about celebrating the death of a person that you love. It's about celebrating their life. So you shouldn't wear black.
Oh.
And so for his funeral, I ended up wearing blue.
Aw.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, so if I do go, like, please have a party. Get up.
If I do die ever, I might not.
At some point, who knows? I might live forever. Could be a vampire. But like, I want people to just like have a rager and have a good time.
Yeah.
You know, and play some like good music. Don't play like.
Oh my gosh, don't play Freebird.
Oh.
If you,
God.
I will haunt you if you play Freebird.
No, I'm with you.
They
I still
play
know.
that?
I know every song. I can tell you every song that I've heard at funerals. It's the worst.
They play that at my dad's, and I don't know if you like requested that, but like I hate that song to this day for that reason.
yeah.
Ugh. So
So the gurney comes in. Rick brings the gurney in. The rest of the kids have gone to other areas of the house.
Yes.
And I have to say, Johnny and BB discover this room with this massive, gorgeous bed. Like, I want that bed. There's
Yes.
like velvet on it. It's
Yeah.
like purple, and there's like huge, what are these gimmicks called?
like the drapes or
There's
like curtains.
Yeah, there's like kind of like sheer curtains on
Yeah.
it. It is like,
It's like the goth bed of your dreams.
I would love that bed.
Yeah, maybe less cobwebs in real life, but still. You're like, or
I'm like,
not.
I don't know. I gotta dig it. But as soon as they walk into this room and they find this bed, I'm going, is this Angela's bed?
Yeah, I could see that.
Right?
I
Like,
mean, she does end up appearing in that room.
who else would have that bed in that house?
Right.
Where'd she get it?
It was a house that existed before Angela was in that house as well, though.
But it was a funeral parlor.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So, like, the mortician.
The mortician is sleeping in style.
Yeah. They were like, I am goth as
They're like, if I'm going to be judging up these bodies, I am going to have a nice Tempur-Pedic. Is that what it's called?
a Tempur-Pedic.
Tempur-Pedic mattress. It's a really nice bed.
It does look really nice. So when the other kids branch off, Shirley says to Rick, "Did you bring the fur ball?" I was pissed. I was so
pissed too.
pissed. And so Rick has this cardboard box and he pulls a black cat out of the box.
Oh.
And I wrote, "This bitch," in all caps. Shirley says, "Perfect little victim." So they're gonna sacrifice this cat. And I was like, Frida, close your eyes.
I know. I was
Frida's
horrified.
my cat. In case you don't know, Frida's my cat.
Oh,
One of my cats.
Miss Frida's awesome.
Frida.
I love Miss Frida.
They love you.
I know. I don't know. It's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like privileged.
Yeah,
like,
for real.
Yeah.
They hide from everyone, but they like run up to her when she comes over. So Mouse is outside in the car still, and she gets scared by someone in a wolf mask.
Oh my God. He comes with he's got like a bat with nails on the end of it, like that guy from The Walking Dead.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name? Nandor? What's the guy's name?
It's definitely not Nandor, but I know. Damn, I should know
Negan?
this. Negan.
It is?
I was gonna say I know. I watched that season. Yeah.
I didn't watch it, but I remember him because he was very cool. And
Yeah.
he had so this werewolf, let's just call him a werewolf. He comes running at the car. He's banging on the windows and he's got this big ass bat with real nails in it.
Yeah.
And he chases her and she's so scared that she runs into Hull House and
Right.
she's like yelling and she's like, "Guys, help me, help me." And this startles the cat.
This is the best part of this. Like, I feel bad for Mouse, but the best part is that it scared the cat away.
Do you think they were actually going to kill that cat?
No, based on what happens next.
Okay, good. I didn't think so either. So the cat runs off, but Shirley and Rick are kind of like, well, but we could use a mouse instead.
Yeah. You're like, oh, okay. We also find out that under the wolf mask,
Oh,
it
it's
was
Zed Dog.
Zed Dog, who immediately starts kissing Shirley.
Yeah,
on the mouth.
Yeah, she's making out with both of them.
In front of Rick. I was like, I mean, I'm not gonna like shame you, get a girl, but damn.
I mean, I guess maybe she's dating both of them. Sure.
I mean, Rick did not seem bothered.
Not at all. Not at all. They're teenagers. They're having a good time.
Yeah.
Well, Rick's not. And also Terry and Kurt are kind of like making out, and they're just like enjoying themselves in the hallways, and you kind of see like a shadow of like something creeping up on them, but you don't really see much more than that. And Terry's like, "Let's go back. I want to see the surprise."
Yeah.
So she starts walking back. When she gets back in the room, Mouse is strapped to the gurney.
Yeah.
And Shirley is holding a knife up over her body. And it essentially looks like they're about to sacrifice Mouse.
Yeah.
She's got the demonology book open. They're about to sacrifice Mouse. And as Shirley goes to stab Mouse, Kurt, I was so like, okay, Kurt.
Yeah.
Kurt jumps and he basically essentially saves Mouse.
Yeah.
But in the process, he gets stabbed in the head.
Yeah, the guys grab him and they stab him.
In the head. On top of the head, right?
I thought it was in the chest.
Oh, maybe the head is the demonstration. Sorry. Whoops, you're right.
Whoopsie, because guess what? The knife isn't real.
But BB hears the scream.
Yes.
And okay, I have to say, when I was watching this, the makeout and sex scenes are really long.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I was interrupting an intimate moment watching it.
Yeah, like BB and Johnny are getting freaky in that room, and then Angela appears in the corner watching.
Yeah.
And I was like, what else are you going to do as a demon? Like, you're not seeing a lot of action lately, you know?
I get it.
But yeah, it's a little long.
It's long.
Yeah.
It is like long and drawn out, and like I don't know. I guess because they're teenagers, like I felt so uncomfortable.
You're like,
I was like, why am I watching this?
You're like, okay, we got it.
Yeah, I was like, hey, we get it. We get the point.
Let's move on.
I will say I did appreciate that Johnny brought a condom and he opened it up and I went, okay, kids,
Yeah.
safe sex, it's important. And I think in the 90s and the early 90s,
Yeah.
especially when it was like a little more taboo to be talking about sexual encounters, et cetera, I thought it was very responsible of them to include that.
Though I didn't understand why when, Terry goes to see what the scream is, he like takes the condom and he just tosses it. I was like, you save that for later. You don't know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Like he's
But-
just like, well, the moment's ruined.
But very responsible of him to have brought one.
Yeah. And I thought, BB being like, no, I think that was a real scream.
Yeah.
They go downstairs. Turns out the knife's not real. It's one of those like prop knives.
Like retractable.
A retractable knife.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know what? They chose a really good retractable knife because it looked very convincing.
Yeah, I really thought Kurt got stabbed. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
And then Z-Boy shows that it's fake by stabbing it into his head.
I mean, can we also say Z-Boy, Z-Dog, whatever his name is a brutal.
Yeah.
He's brutal.
Because he is a very stereotypical bad boy.
Very much so. He's arrogant and annoying, and I would say he's a little older than them as well.
It definitely seems like that because he's one of Rick's friends.
Yeah, like I would say I think he's supposed to be 20.
Sure.
Maybe 19.
I could see that.
Somewhere in that realm.
Yeah.
I'd say the gals are probably 16, 17, right?
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
they're all around 16, 17.
I could see that. So here we see something similar to what happened in the first Night of the Demons where the characters all start smelling something bad.
Oh my God, what is Rick?
I wrote it down. They're like, what's that smell? And Rick's like, it smells like Godzilla's butthole.
I mean, that's a great line.
Yeah. I was
That
like,
is a great line.
That does sound disgusting.
I love that they kept the continuity of that, where the demon does smell bad.
Yeah, they smell something really bad. Mouse sees Angela, but no one else does. Mm-hmm. So she starts freaking out again. Mm-hmm. I love how she reacted in these scenes because you know how sometimes that will happen. Like, oh, they saw a demon and they're just like, and you're like, no, I would have been freaking out.
Yeah.
Mouse really does freak out every time something like this happens.
Yeah, Mouse freaks out. And the rest of the group, like, they don't really want to be there anymore.
Yeah, they're kind of creeped out a little bit. And then they don't see Angela, but they do see a pile of black ooze on the floor. And it's covered in like either maggots or mealworms, something disgusting.
It's gross, yeah.
And they're like, okay, we should leave. You're like, logical, yes.
A million percent. Except Terry goes, well, I have to pee. Okay, can I say... I would piss my pants before I would go looking for a bathroom in this house.
Yes. Like that, whatever bathroom you're going to find there has to be worse than like a random truck stop bathroom.
Yeah, just pee in the grass. Like I would find a tree, I would just pop a squat.
Exactly.
I think I've told you before, I have a weird thing with like public restrooms. Okay.
Yeah.
The washrooms weird
Understandable.
I do think part of that comes from this movie. This is when I pieced together that this was the movie that I saw originally. Mm-hmm. Because
that traumatized you.
It traumatized me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much so that I was so afraid to use the washroom. Every single time I went to the washroom, I would check the toilet. So Terry goes to pee and there is a demon head looking up at her in the toilet.
Yeah. It surprised me. I didn't know that was coming at all.
As soon as I saw the toilet, as soon as she said, I'm going to the bathroom,
You're
I
like,
went, oh,
flashbacks?
flashback. I remember that scene specifically. It absolutely traumatized me for years.
Scary.
He looks so scary. And when you're like a little kid, it looks even scarier.
Yeah.
But so Terry sees the head and she freaks. Obviously, she freaks out. And Kurt comes in, or she opens the door. Kurt comes in and she's like, you got to check the bathroom. You got to check it.
Yeah.
And of course, he opens up the lid and the demon's gone.
Can I ask you, was that head in the toilet, do you think that was Kurt's demon head?
Well, it's supposed to be because later on he's playing basketball with his own head. So I wonder if it's like a premonition.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Because afterwards I realized, I'm like, wait, was that him? Because it kind of looked like it, but I didn't know if it was supposed to be why we'd see it in advance. It doesn't.
I'm not sure because he does mirror him because he says, I did think it was kind of funny. Like Kurt, as he's leaving the bathroom, he goes, girls,
Girls.
Yeah, like, you know, and it is kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then you get a close up of the demon and the toilet is back and he goes, kids.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
So I now that you've said that, I do think it is supposed to be him.
Yeah.
Because later it is him.
I think they look similar, yeah.
We'll just go with it.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
So as Z-Boy is peeing in the hallway.
Oh boy, how are we going to unpack this scene, man?
There's a lot. So he sees a figure in the hallway and he doesn't even see who it is. And he's just like, wait for me, baby. So he starts following this figure. Of course, we know it's Angela.
I would say he's intoxicated. He certainly seems like it.
Probably.
I mean, he seems like he's
On
drunk
something.
or something.
Yeah. And he follows Angela, unbeknownst to him that it's a demon, and she gives him what he wanted. So she gets on top of him and she sticks her long, sharp, black tongue down his throat, which of course turns him into one of her minions. But it's disgusting. Like, she gets on top of him and she's like, eh.
It honestly, maybe I read the scene wrong, but
Okay.
it honestly looked like she was like assaulting him.
Oh, okay.
'Cause
oh,
she-
I mean, actually,
Right?
once he realizes what she was, probably.
She lured him there.
Yeah.
Under the guise of her being like a regular human.
Yeah.
And then isn't.
Yeah.
And then you see her. They're definitely having sex.
Oh, she's riding him 100%.
And I'm like, it made me feel so icky. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, she's absolutely assaulting
Yeah,
him.
I didn't notice that they were definitely having sex until it like goes to another scene and comes back to them. So he was like already a demon at that point.
Fair. So maybe the demon then agrees. I don't know.
I'm not saying she wasn't assaulting
the
him.
whole thing just made me feel really weird.
It was gross for sure. And
Yeah.
her tongue, it's a very leech woman.
It is Leech
Yeah.
Woman. Yeah.
Without it-
all the tongues in this are, yeah.
Without it leaving her body. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was disgusting.
And the group at first, like Shirley's like, we can't leave Rick, or we can't leave Z-Dog. And Rick is like, my car, we're getting out of here. I don't care. Z-Dog can come or not. We're getting out of here.
Yeah, and I was like, this is actually logical of Rick because Rick did say, you know, he got here by himself.
Yeah.
So obviously he can leave by himself. And I'm like, that's a good point. Like, how did he get here? I
yeah.
assume he drove his own car.
No, 1,000,000%. Yes, exactly.
I feel like he would ride a bicycle.
I feel like he walked.
I feel like he doesn't have a car.
I feel like he took a skateboard.
Probably. I could see that.
Okay, so the kids are in the car and they're driving off. Important to note, when BB was walking around the house, she came across the bathroom, and when she opened up the mirror, she found the lipstick.
The lipstick.
Now, if you haven't listened to our episode on Night of the Demons, pause and listen to it or watch the movie, because the lipstick is a very important part of the movie.
I just realized, is that the same lipstick from the first one?
It's supposed to be. However, the one from the first one is hot pink.
Right.
This one is not hot pink, and I feel like that could have just been a continuity error, but maybe it was
Yeah.
a choice. But I think it's supposed to be the same lipstick.
I mean, it's a demonic lipstick, so it can probably change colors, right?
Hey, I like that explanation. Let's go with that.
I didn't even think about that, about
Yeah.
how it might be the same lipstick from the first one.
Yeah, when she opened the thing and it was sitting there, I was like,
Oh my gosh. So yes, the kids actually make it off the property, which I was surprised. I thought they were going to get stopped.
yes. And did you notice the wall isn't in this one?
The like barricade around the property. I didn't even notice that. I just remember one of the kids in the car mentions that, oh, we just passed the stream.
Yes.
The underground stream that surrounds the property and is thought to keep the demons inside.
Right. And I was perturbed by the lack of the wall when
Yeah.
I was watching it, because I don't know, I was like, I thought the wall was such an important part of the movie. But when I was reading about it and, behind the scenes stuff, they shot the wall scenes at a different location.
Okay.
It wasn't the same. It was very close to it. I think it was like across the street, but
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that played into
Yeah,
it.
and also I would say, it's been years since the first one. So, maybe the wall got knocked down. Sure. I can believe it.
Yeah, totally. And the wall wasn't even like real. The demons, there was a gate and there was a wall around the property, but the demons made the wall like even larger around the property in the first one.
Yeah, and the thing keeping them in is the water, not the wall.
Correct. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So the kids actually make it out, and we go back to Perry and Sister Gloria. Perry is telling her about the map that he found.
Yes.
And he's like, I think that they went to this place. I don't want to get them in trouble.
And Sister Gloria takes it very seriously, and not in the, oh my God, the kids are off property kind of way. More of the, oh my God, the kids are messing around with demonic forces.
Yeah.
She believes Perry. She very much believes that Hull House is an evil place.
Yeah, she's definitely the opposite of Father Bob in this aspect because he doesn't believe anything anyone tells him ever.
No, like ever. And Sister G is like equipped.
Yeah.
Man, this scene reminded me of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's a scene in Buffy season 1 where I want to say it might even be Prophecy Girl, but she opens up her trunk and on top of it, it's all like, girly stuff. And then she lifts that up and then it's all like stakes and crosses and holy water. So when Sister G opens up I was like, oh my God, it's Buffy.
Yeah.
Very similar.
That's so interesting because this movie does give off vampire vibes, even though they're not vampires.
It's all vampire lore.
It's because of the Catholicism.
Yes,
Yeah.
1,000,000%. But you're so right. They can't with sunlight,
Yeah.
holy water, rosaries.
Yeah.
The only thing, mirrors, but I don't know if they talk about that except for them coming out of them.
I was going to say they use mirrors in a way.
They use mirrors.
I guess garlic maybe is the one thing that,
They
doesn't
haven't
bother
touched.
them.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, the garlic thing.
Yeah.
One day, honestly, when we end up doing like extra episodes and stuff like that, I think it would be so fun to do deep dives into the lore of different monsters and stuff.
Yeah.
How fun. If you guys want us to cover stuff like that, let us know.
Let us know.
Any hoogly boos.
Yeah, so back in the car, we see the lipstick that BB took. And she wants to throw it out the window because she sees something.
Well, she opens it up, and I don't know if she's about to put it on or what she's doing, but demon. I don't know what you would call it. I don't want to call it a worm, but it's like a little creature kind of.
A worm at this point is probably the most accurate picture of what it looks like.
It comes hopping out of the, but no one else sees it.
Right.
And she thinks she's just like overtired or stressed.
Yeah, but she's like, okay, this is freaking me out. Oh, because one of them is like, why would you take something from the property? Right? Probably Perry.
Yes. Yeah. And
no, Perry's not with them. Sorry.
Perry's not with them, but yeah, the rest of the group are kind of like, well, why would you do that? She goes to throw the lipstick, but she drops it and it falls on the floor of the car.
Yes, and then Shirley takes it.
She sure does.
And
oh boy, does she ever.
She starts putting it on in the car. Mm-hmm. But that's all we see there.
That's all we see there. Yes.
Yeah.
She doesn't believe BB. She's like,
yes, Sister Gloria and Perry have now gone to Father Bob to tell them, hey, we think we need to go to Hull House.
yes.
There's a problem. The dance is also going on at this point, and that's important because once Sister Gloria leaves, now the kids are rocking out.
Oh yeah, they put on like loud rock music, like metal.
Yeah.
Hardcore music.
Yeah, that rock and roll. And they're, doing things that Sister Gloria would not approve of.
Absolutely not.
And Shirley goes upstairs to put on this lipstick again in the bathroom mirror.
She gives herself a little pep talk. She's like, you got this, girl, or whatever she says. And I said, you know what? I kind of get it. Sometimes you got to hype yourself up.
Sometimes you do. There's a lot of use of mirrors in this movie too. A lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
But she's putting on the lipstick and now the lipstick fully shoots out of the tube into her mouth at first, which you're like, what the fuck is going on? She drops it on the floor naturally, and we see the lipstick start crawling out of the tube. This is such a crazy practical effect because you're like, what the fuck is happening? It looks like a worm, and then it looks like a snake, and it keeps crawling out of the tube. It's
It
like,
almost looks like roots from a tree.
or like intestines.
Yes.
It's so gross and slimy looking. It reminds me very much of a Nightmare on Elm Street effect of like Freddy's tongue coming through the phone or something like that. And it is like 3 feet long, maybe. It completely comes out of the tube.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah. Okay, so even worse, this intestine snake lipstick thing starts crawling up her leg. She's against the wall. Like,
She's
oh
trying
my
to get
gosh.
out. Like she's banging
Yeah.
on the door that she can't open the bathroom door. It won't open. She's screaming for help.
Yeah.
She has nowhere to go. She's wearing a skirt.
That's important to note. Mm-hmm. Because this thing wraps around her leg and then climbs up her skirt. We don't see what happens, but it's implied. It doesn't come out. It only goes in.
So What they're
My
telling
hands are-
us, I know. So, what they're telling us, yet again, if you have sex, bad things are going to happen. You're going to be possessed by a demon.
And that's exactly what happens.
I mean, I don't know if that's exactly what they were saying, but like it falls in line with the Catholicism
Yeah.
and, you know, all of these themes throughout the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I think it was very heavily suggested.
Yeah, and I also wonder why that happened besides obviously, you know, shock value. It's disgusting, the effect. Because then Angela appears and kisses her, which I would assume that's what possesses her, because that's been a theme since the first movie, is whenever they share a kiss.
I wonder if the demon climbed up in her, and once Angela kissed her, it like brought the demon to life.
That's
Maybe?
what it seemed like. It definitely seemed that way. And I would say that the kiss is what possessed her, because that's what happened in the first one. Every time a demon shared a kiss with someone, they got possessed too.
I think you're right. And I think the reason that the tentacles go up her skirt is because she was keeping her mouth closed. Like she was trying to keep her mouth closed.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I think that's why it was like, well, if I can't get in that way.
Right.
And no, I think you're right, because you're right. Angela does kiss her, and that was pretty apparent in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now we see Angela downstairs at the party. And she starts dancing on the table, very reminiscent of the first one with her
love it.
iconic dance.
Oh, she's a badass. She looks
feel like,
great.
I feel like nothing can beat that first dance from the first movie, but still, she's dancing on the table.
She's feeling herself.
She's definitely feeling herself. All the kids are watching, and she's sort of making eyes with Johnny, who's very entranced with her.
Oh, she puts him under a spell for sure.
Yeah, BB and Johnny are watching. All the kids are watching, but BB and Johnny are like front row. And
I thought Johnny was going to die here.
oh, really?
I did, yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Because Angela and Johnny are making eyes, and she's kind of flirting with him, and she like dumps a bowl of punch on top of herself, and she's like, thirsty or something like that.
Yeah, and BB's watching this. Like, BB's kind of like, what is happening here?
BB's like, excuse me,
That's
ho?
my man?
Yeah. And imagine a bowl of punch on yourself. Like, that would be so sticky.
So sticky.
But
I was
I guess
thinking the same thing.
She's a demon. It's the least of her problems.
One time, I want to say it was Dreamer. I had a hardcore match with Dreamer, and he gulped like Mountain Dew, like the one that's like a different color.
Baja Blast.
Baja Blast, and then sprayed it on me. And I remember just being like covered in this Mountain Dew and just being so sticky. Oh, so gross.
Getting beer all over you in a match or anything. Just getting it in your gear and it just smells so bad.
All I think about are other people's fluids, and it just disturbs me. Anyways.
So, Shirley is now back on the dance floor. She looks normal as of right now, and she's going nuts.
She's having a good time, man.
She is, talk about feeling yourself.
Oh, yeah.
She is dancing very similarly to Angela, I would say in the first one even. Like, she is going wild.
Yeah.
And that actress was a trained dancer, you find out. So
Yeah, I love that.
yeah. She is feeling herself so much that she starts pulling her boobs out. Like, literally feeling herself. And Sister Gloria, of course, is appalled. And she's like, you stop that right now. This part might be my favorite part in the whole movie. This effect was so fantastic. So she asked Rick, who's also at this party as a grown-ass man,
Yeah,
if he wants to touch them. And of course he does. I mean, she did invite him. I'll give him that. And he goes to touch, like, it almost looks like the center of her chest for some reason. And her boobs turn into hands, grab his arm, and start yanking on him. She now has a demon face. This effect was so cool, just seeing the practical effects of her boobs turning into hands.
Oh, yeah.
And just grabbing him.
And kind of like igniting, like melting his skin, and
It did do that.
like
Yeah.
you could see like his bones and stuff. It was so cool.
Yeah, they pan out and it's her whole body, and you see these arms coming out of her chest, just yanking on him. And of course, chaos ensues. Everyone's freaking out. Naturally, this is not a normal Halloween costume. And she ends up getting a hold of Rick. And does she like snap his neck?
I think she snaps his neck.
She snaps his neck, but he's not completely dead yet. Well, he is, but
He hasn't. Sister Gloria says something to the effect of like, we need to read him his last rites so that his body might be gone, but we can still save his soul. Something to that effect.
that makes so much sense. I didn't even catch that part because I was confused about why some people were dying and without getting kissed or anything were turning into demons.
Yeah. So because I want to say, one of them does come back to life after they've
Yes.
been possessed. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
One of them does.
And some of them, yeah. So we'll get to that. But so in this case, she does snap Rick's neck.
Yes.
I thought I had missed something. I'm like, did she kiss him? No. She snaps his neck. He dies. But he ends up turning into a demon.
He does, yes. But Sister Gloria and Perry at this point need to tell Father Bob what's going on. And one of the ways they alert him when they call him is to tell him that a kid needs his last rites and blah, blah, blah. And Father Bob does not want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
He is like, me, man,
Yeah.
I just got comfortable. Like,
He's
I don't
like-
want to have to put on my whole priest getup.
He's like, all you do is make up lies.
Yeah, he's not having it. But he reluctantly is like, well, I guess so.
I guess this is my job.
Gets out of bed. And Perry, Father Bob, Sister Gloria, they are going to go back to Hull House. BB and Johnny are going to go with them
Yeah.
reluctantly.
Yeah.
Sister Gloria doesn't want any of them going. She says she wants them all to like stay back.
Right.
But Perry is like, no, I've got super soakers filled with holy water. And I also have water balloons filled with holy water. And I am strapped and we are all going to Hull House together.
Yeah. And eventually, Father Bob is like, you know what? We should go.
Yeah. He goes, maybe we'll put an end to all this like nonsense and shenanigans.
Yeah.
And also we're kind of jumping around a little bit
Yeah.
because like the party's happening and the demons at the party are just, it's like bananas.
Yeah. There's a lot happening at the same time.
Yes, like at one point Terry's like running for her life and she runs into Shirley and she's like, oh, Shirley, thank God. And Shirley's actually a demon.
Yeah, so a lot of things are happening at once. At one point, we cut to Kurt and Terry. They're in the car and they're making out. And Kurt is, trying to take off her pants or shirt or whatever. And
I
she's
love
like,
that Terry's like, this is as far as I'm going to go.
That's exactly what she says. She goes, okay. She puts her hand his hand on her boob and is like, this is as far as I go. I was like, boundaries, girl.
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
Yes.
And he's cool with it.
Yeah,
he's
he
like,
was okay.
He was like, if I must or whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay, we respect it. And while they're making out, a hand reaches up around his crotch and starts literally like feeling him.
She's like massaging.
He of course thinks this is Terry. He can't see where her hands are. We only really see one of her hands, which one of her hands is doing this. It's like very unnatural. I think it's just to show us.
And also, but like when you think about it, like when you're not experienced in like, making out. So it's like, what do I do with my hands?
Yeah, you don't know where to put them. And
Yeah.
she doesn't want to, turn him on anymore. So
Right.
that's as far as she goes. Anyway, he obviously thinks this is Terry's hand and he's like, oh, I love that or whatever. And I forget what he says, but he's like, not too soon or something.
Oh yeah, basically implying like he doesn't want to blow his load.
Exactly. I was trying to think of a way to say that. That's one way to say it. And so they kind of
crass. Oh my God.
there are worse ways to say it. It's okay.
Yeah.
I probably would have said something worse. And so they stop and they look down and Angela's hand here, if you're watching on YouTube, she kind of like flips him off,
Yeah.
does a little wave. And of course it's Angela and they get out of the car. They're freaking out. Angela's there. She says something. She calls him like a strapping young lad or something. And then she's like, how's about a little head, tiger?
Oh.
And then she decapitates him.
What a kill though,
What a
man.
line.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh my gosh. So here, Terry is obviously freaking out. Shirley pops up and she kisses Terry, which we know.
because Terry like kind of thinks like, oh, Shirley, thank God.
Yeah. And she's like, no, I'm a demon.
Yes, I am.
And we know what happens when the demons kiss someone. So that happens. And then Angela, now we see, is appearing to Mouse as normal again.
Yeah, Mouse is in her bed and she's obviously had a rough night and Angela shows up and Mouse thinks she's dreaming. Mouse
Yes.
thinks she fell asleep.
Like
And-
earlier in the movie.
Exactly. And Angela's like, no, it's me, flesh and blood, and goes to tell her this story about how she actually ran away.
Yeah.
And she's coming back for Mouse to take Mouse with her.
Yeah. And she's like, I know you're lonely. And she's playing into the fact that Mouse is very, very lonely.
Oh, it's so hard.
It's really sad because she's gaslighting the shit out of her.
Oh my God. I can't imagine thinking that your sibling died and then them appearing to you and saying, no, I was actually alive the whole time. It
Yeah.
actually made me so sad.
Yeah.
I was like,
and she's
oh,
like,
God.
don't you want to come with me to a better place? This is a better
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Don't you love me? That's what it was. Don't you love me?
Oh, brutal. Those
So-
demons, they're conniving.
Yes.
You know?
So here we go back to Sister Gloria. Like you mentioned, Perry is getting his water gun, his water balloons, all that. I loved that so much because it's so juvenile, but it was so genius at the same time.
It reminded me of like Monster Squad.
Yes.
Right?
And Sister Gloria has on her like full battle habit.
She's ready to roll, man.
Yes.
I loved it. Big ass super soakers. I mean, Perry is ready.
Yeah. Then we cut to BB. BB is now, she's looking for Mouse. She's trying to find her. She's going through the house and she gets attacked by a demon Terry,
Yes.
which we knew that Terry was going to turn into a demon, right? Sister Gloria and Perry show up as BB is getting attacked. Before anything can happen to her, they're able to grab her and pour holy water down her throat, which makes her vomit up this like green bile stuff. It has something moving in it, almost like a bug or something.
Yeah, because I think that is like the demon coming out of her.
Yeah, I think that's what it represents.
Yeah, and then Gloria smushes it.
Yes.
Did she use her
With her ruler.
yardstick?
She's like, touche, the same as she did earlier. She smashes it.
Hell yeah.
And then Terry seems to go back to normal.
Right, because she didn't die.
Right.
Yeah.
She just got kissed, right? Then they see out the window that Angela is leading Mouse to Rick's car,
Right.
which Rick and Shirley, we know, are demons now, and they're inside, and Mouse is like, oh, I don't know about this, but they're all getting in that car. So,
Because I think Mouse is also under a trance at this point. I think Angela has kind of got her in a bit of a trance, which you kind of see later that she's definitely in some sort of trance.
yeah,
And
I
we've
think
seen
so.
the demons that they can kind of do that.
Yeah, and if nothing else, she's definitely just being convinced by the image of her sister, because Angela's not appearing to her as a demon here. She looks like her normal self. So Father Bob, of course, is not believing anyone. He's not having it, which I partially understand. And I love that here Perry is like, look at the statue, Father. And there's a statue of maybe like Mary or something, and
Yeah.
there's blood coming out of her eyes.
Yeah.
And Father Bob is like, yeah, someone just vandalized the statue. And I'm like, that's logical.
I know, but I was also going, yeah, but that is like the Mother Mary crying in Catholicism is like a huge deal.
Yeah.
So I was like, you'd think like a priest would see that and it would at least give pause.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I honestly question Father Bob's loyalty to the church.
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like he's just like, it's just a job.
For real. And also when he did say finally, like, all right, you know what? Let's go. Fine. Let's all go.
Yeah, we'll go. We'll go check it out.
I really was like, oh, he's in on it.
Me too.
He has to be in on it. So it's Father Bob, Sister Gloria, Johnny, BB, and Perry.
Yes.
Are all going back to Hull House.
That's right.
When they get there, another reason why I was like, he is in on it. It's just crazy that he wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of already said that in the beginning, but because here, as soon as they get in, Father Bob suggests they all split up. And I wrote in my notes, I'm like, are you in on this? What the
I thought the same thing. I think I might have wrote it in my notes too. I was so sure that Father Bob was up to something because he was so dismissive of everything.
everything. But then
Yeah.
also was like, yeah, let's go to this house. I'm like, really?
Yeah, and let's split up.
Yeah.
Like what?
So Perry and Father Bob go off on one end. Sister Gloria, BB, and Johnny, the three of them go off together.
That's right.
And
I mean, Father Bob don't last very long.
he really doesn't.
He gets taken out real quick.
Yeah. Because they find Rick.
And this scene, when I remember when I was a kid, scared the shit out of me. Because Rick's kind of in the dark.
He's in the shadows.
He's in the shadows, and he's kind of like speaking in like biblical not phrases.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say, right? Like
phrases.
Yeah, like
Scripture, is that what you're saying?
yeah, kind of
Yeah.
talking in scripture. And like, I don't know. I've told you this before. I get really freaked out by like this type of shit, like
Yeah.
religious stuff
Yeah.
and movies kind of scares me. But he's kind of in the shadows and he's talking directly to Father Bob,
Who can't see his face.
who cannot see that he's a demon.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, come child, like what's the problem?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And Perry is freaking out. Perry's like, no, it's a demon. Blah.
Yeah.
And he's grabbing the super soakers, and Father Bob like throws the super soakers down, and Perry is like, now they don't have any weapons.
Yeah.
And of course, Rick is a demon.
Yes, and he pops out of the shadows, looks terrifying. I totally understand why that scared you.
So scary.
And he starts stabbing Father Bob repeatedly.
Takes him right out.
Yeah, takes him right out. Perry, on the other hand, dives down, grabs that water gun. As he's like sitting down, starts blasting through Rick with this water gun like Rambo.
It's
and
wicked.
It's shooting through him like bullets.
It's awesome.
I loved that so much.
I did too.
Then he goes to check on Father Bob. He's like kneeled down by him. And Rick comes up behind him, almost like a little like last minute jump scare. And Perry smashes a water balloon on his head.
It's awesome.
And it melts his whole head. I loved this so much.
I did too.
The fact that that worked, first of all. And
Very, very vampire.
yes, and that he was using a water gun and water balloons. I'm like, that is so smart. I just loved it.
I loved it too. I thought it was very resourceful. It was very teenager. And like I said, it reminded me so much of Buffy.
Yes. Now, the other three, so that was BB, Johnny, and Sister Gloria, they end up getting separated and like locked in different rooms.
Yeah, they're going down like a hallway and like one person like turns this way, door slams.
Yeah.
Person turns that way, door slams. So now all three of them are separated.
Right.
Where Sister Gloria is in the middle of the other two. Like it's almost like room, Sister Gloria, then another room.
Yeah. And Johnny looks out the window in the room that he's in and he sees Kurt outside, who is playing basketball. You hear the basketball sounds. He looks outside and he's playing basketball with his own head.
Sure is, yeah.
Just bouncing it.
He's
No
like, you know what?
problem.
I don't have a basketball. Wait a second. Yes, I do.
I can use my own head. And then after that, he just puts it on like no big deal. I mean, he is a demon at
Yeah.
this point. So he grabs Johnny and is about to like gouge his eyes out. And then Perry from like the roof or something drops a water balloon on his head too.
It's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Then Demon Z-Boy, what'd you call him? Z-Dog.
Z-Dog.
Comes out of nowhere and hits Perry in the face with that bat that had the nails on it.
I was not expecting. You know what's so funny? The blade, the blade sitting next to him, and he goes, oh, and he like turns to look at me. He's, wow, I did not see that one coming.
Me neither. It felt like it came really out of nowhere.
Yes, I thought Perry was going to be one of our final guys.
Me too. I was not expecting that. And
It was
so
sad. It was actually sad.
It was. And so it's not funny, but Perry is on the ground dying basically. And he's sort of turning into a demon. So this is where I was confused at first of like, why is he turning into a demon? But now it makes sense. He didn't get his last rites. And as he's dying, if they don't get their last rites, I guess they're turning into demons.
Yeah, and I think because there are demons all over the place, they can just hop into his body.
Yeah.
Right?
Or maybe because the demon killed him.
Yeah.
That whatever.
Sure.
So he's on the ground. Johnny is there like, oh my gosh, Perry, no, you know? And I mean, he has like holes in his head, literally. And he's starting to transform into a demon and he's telling Johnny, give me the holy water. It felt like a scene from like a war movie.
It really
like, tell my
did.
mother I love her. Like
It
that kind of thing.
did.
And so he takes the water balloon and starts drinking the holy water. Like, and at first I'm thinking he's going to kill himself, like, so he doesn't turn into a demon. But I forgot that holy water just prevents him from turning into a demon. But it does not prevent him from dying. So even though he didn't turn into a demon, he didn't want to do that, and then he knew he would attack his friends, he still died. And I was like, damn, this is sad. Yeah.
It was sad. I was heartbroken for Perry.
Yeah.
I thought Johnny was going to go way earlier.
Me too.
Yeah.
As soon as he was locked in that room, I'm like, well,
See you later, Johnny.
bye, Johnny. So here, Demon Z-Boy finds BB, and literally a bulge in his pants starts to grow, like comically.
Like very
Like,
overboard.
yes. And it starts to like inflate his pants basically. And of course he's being like a predator and a pervert. And I don't think the demon part even has anything to do with that. I think that was just his real self. And he says something to BB. He's like grabbing her and he's like, you say no, but I know you mean yes. I'm like, wow, literally the worst. The worst. Is that Z-Boy or is that the demon?
Yeah,
There's-
like which one?
Yeah. And here comes Sister Gloria with her catchphrase, save a little room for the Holy Ghost.
I loved
Because he's
it.
grabbing her. I'm like, I knew this was going to come back.
I loved it.
Yeah. And what does she do to him?
She kicks his ass with a rosary, man.
Hell yeah.
Like a big ass rosary. She beats his ass. It's great. It's so great. She uses it like nunchucks.
yeah.
It's awesome.
She's a badass. And now Demon Father Bob has entered the chat. And a brawl ensues. Shirley is there. Everyone, there's so much chaos, so much holy water being thrown
a
everywhere.
lot of water balloons. Basically, they wipe them out.
Yes.
They end up taking out all of them except for Angela.
Yes. And I think Z-Boy, but he goes shortly after that. because they end up hitting him in the crotch with the holy water. I think he's the last one to go. But this effect is so cool because it's like, I guess Father Bob and Shirley's bodies are like melted to the ground. It just looks like a soup of blood and guts.
And like smoke is coming up. Very reminiscent of the Wicked Witch of the West, right?
Yes, but there are random body parts that are sticking out like an arm and like Father Bob's torso and his head, and they're all flailing. Like all the body parts are moving. It was a really cool effect.
It was really, really cool. I loved it.
Me too.
Yeah.
And then here I think Z-Boy maybe like pops up and they shoot him in the crotch with the holy water. It's
great.
And he's gone.
He deserves to go.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
So here, Sister Gloria, BB, and Johnny, they find Mouse on a table.
Yes, with Angela.
About to be sacrificed by Angela.
And Angela is demoned out. She looks amazing.
The makeup got even better in this movie.
Dude, it looks so good.
Yeah.
She looked so scary.
Yes.
I wrote down a couple of her quotes.
Yes.
Okay. So they discover that Angela is going to sacrifice Mouse as like a gift to Satan. Maybe it's for eternal power. Maybe it's, I mean, I thought it was because she wanted to marry him, but whatever the case may be, she's sacrificing Mouse. And she says, and I quote, "An ocean of holy water couldn't help you now." Then she says she's having this debate with Sister Gloria about faith.
Yes.
And she says, "Real faith can move mountains. Your faith can't even move a mouse." And then she decapitates Sister Gloria.
Yes. Which also popped me. I was like, what the
Same with me and Blade. Blade was like, "Oh my God, kill!" And then
This part I have questions about.
I was dying when I watched this. I was dying to find out what you thought.
Yes.
Because she like lands on the ground, you think that she's decapitated, and then her head pops out of her cloak, and it was like she basically evaded getting decapitated.
Like, was it a decoy?
That's what I think.
Because she almost alluded to her faith protected her. So I'm like, wait, did your faith bring back your head?
I thought she did like a party trick.
That makes more sense. I thought she literally just like picked her head up and was like, my faith allows me to do this. I was like, wait, what?
I think she like turtle shelled herself.
Okay.
Like I think like a turtle. She went like, whoop.
When did she have the chance to like switch her head with like I imagine like a paper mache
I don't
replica?
know. I don't know. I wondered the exact same thing, and I popped huge when she popped her head out. I was like, this is like a party gag.
That made more sense to me because when she decapitated Sister Gloria, I was like, whoa, like that just happened so quick.
Yeah.
It felt like no buildup. It makes sense because it was a swerve.
Yeah.
But I still have questions about it. I'm like, what was that?
I know. I was wondering the exact same thing. In fact, when it happened, I immediately started writing down, like, I have to talk to AK about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. She you know what? She's skilled. I mean, she was a fencer. Maybe she like learned how to turtle herself during that.
Yeah, do they do that in fencing? I'm sure.
I don't know, but it was pretty funny. And
But yeah, Angela pops Johnny's water balloons in this process as well. So like he's about to throw them at her
Yes.
and she's like, no.
basically it's like showing like Angela's very powerful. She
Yes.
isn't like her gaggle of demon friends.
Right.
She's more powerful, and they're in her kind of domain.
Right, they're in her world.
Yeah, this is her space, and they're basically trespassing.
Yeah.
And she's got a huge ass sword in her hand, and she's about to sacrifice Mouse.
Yeah. And here she does give the nun a choice. She tells her that she can, I wrote the nun, Sister Gloria, but that was in my notes. The nun can trade places with Mouse to save her if she would like. And of course, being Sister Gloria, she agrees.
She does, and I mean, it's immediate. Angela uses her demon power and switches them out very quickly. And now Sister Gloria is laying on the table, and Mouse has the sword, and Angela is basically telling Mouse, if you sacrifice Sister Gloria, you'll have like unlimited power. You know, it'll be just like a great thing. You should definitely do this. And Mouse is having sort of an internal conflict about this. She's like, this is where I was like, I think she's under some sort of trance, because Mouse at this point, I mean, it's not even Angela anymore. This is a demon talking to you, and Mouse is still sort of game.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of humming and hawing about it. And Sister Gloria turns to Mouse and says, remember your faith.
Yeah.
And so just as Mouse is about to stab Princess Gloria, She turns.
Did you say Princess Gloria?
I did.
At no point was a princess in this movie.
They call her princess. Okay, so I'm gonna try this again. Mouse at the last second, instead of stabbing Sister Gloria, she stabs Angela
Through the stomach.
through the stomach with
Yeah.
this like magical sword.
Yeah.
And it's a big moment, right? Like Angela's shocked, Mouse is shocked, and then doesn't Sister Gloria like hop up off the table and like
She has a water gun.
and she like super soaks
Yeah.
Angela.
And super soak that hoe. Isn't that the song?
I think you're right.
Soulja Boy.
Soldier Boy. By the way, I feel like Super Soakers was a big deal in the early 90s.
Oh my gosh, I still want one.
I actually freaking hate water fights.
You were.
okay?
Oh yeah, you hate water. That makes sense.
I hate them. They're the worst.
Yeah. But the effects are so good. The effects are amazing in this scene.
Yeah.
And
I thought this was the end, by the way.
me too.
So Angela starts to melt.
Yes.
We think that she's dead.
Yes.
Is she dead?
My mind was blown because I was writing notes about how amazing the effects were before the next scene even happened.
Yeah.
About how much I love this movie and the practical effects. And then Angela appears as a gigantic serpent.
It's wild.
Slithers out of the wall like full body serpent, not just like her torso, like the tail and all.
It again reminded me of Buffy.
Oh my gosh. This reminded me for some reason of, do you remember Clash of the Titans? I think it's called. And it's like the older version that's like stop motion with like the owl. No. Oh my gosh. I have to show you the demon in that because it has stuck in my brain since childhood. That's like one. It's not even, I don't think it's a horror movie, but it has horrifying elements in it.
Oh, man.
And it has like Medusa in it. So there's a similar like serpent and it's kind of stop motion. That's like one that my grandma would let me watch. And even though
Whoa.
it's horrifying, I'm going to show it to you later.
Yeah, please.
Anyway.
She turns into a massive serpent snake thing
Yes.
and chases them.
She starts whipping everyone with her tail.
Oh, it's crazy.
It was so cool.
Yeah. It was wild.
Ugh. Check out that scene. If you look at nothing else from this movie, just look up what she looked like as the snake.
Yeah, and we'll post on Instagram too in the stories. So
Yeah.
you guys can check it out.
So she starts whipping everyone with her tail, and then she wraps up BB. Mm-hmm. Mouse comes in and actually tries to save BB. I'm like, oh, Mouse.
I know.
Oh, there was a point where Mouse actually said, I think at that point where she stabbed Angela, didn't she say like, my name is Melissa?
Yeah, finally stood up for herself.
Yeah. So Melissa, I'm gonna call her Melissa. Melissa tries to help BB, and then Angela grabs her.
Right?
Right.
And then we notice that there's like a boarded up window with sunlight coming through it. And Johnny like ninja kicks.
I was gonna say he like almost drop kicked it in a way. I don't think it was a full drop kick, but yeah, ninja kick is a better description.
He like ninja kicks the wood, and so it almost like it almost breaks in the shape of a cross.
It does.
It does.
Yeah,
right?
it does.
And the sunlight comes through.
It burns an imprint on Angela's torso as a cross.
It's so cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah,
and then she
it was great.
explodes.
She explodes.
Just
yeah.
straight up explodes.
I guess sunlight really well, the combination of sunlight and it being a cross
Yeah.
did her in.
Yeah. And then after that, everyone's back at school. All is well. Mm-hmm. But we see the lipstick on the ground.
Yes.
And some girl, I'm guessing this is the night after the Halloween party and people are just getting home because some girl in a French maid costume,
Yeah.
even though it's daylight,
yeah.
picks up the costume, picks up the lipstick
Yeah.
and opens it. And a CGI like snake jumps out of the screen.
Yeah, which like it's 94,
Yeah,
CG 94,
yeah.
right? But like I didn't think it was too bad for being
No,
94.
no.
We didn't need it, but I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is how the movie ends.
And that's it. Did you like it?
I loved this movie. I know I feel like I say that for everyone, but seriously, I think I like 2 better than the first one. And I really liked the first one too.
I loved it. It's so fun. It's the right mix of like campy, scary.
Yeah.
I liked the characters. I thought they were,
Yeah.
they were great. I liked the whole movie. I thought it was a blast.
Me too. The practical effects were amazing. I think they really surprised me. I wasn't expecting as many and it's not that I didn't expect them to be good, but I just wasn't expecting them to hold up as well.
No, totally. I think it was it was a little heavy-handed with the sex, but at the time, like, that was pretty standard for the genre.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
and I think it really does play into the religious theme for sure.
1,000,000%, yes.
Yeah.
I thought Sister Gloria was fantastic. I love that actress. She's just bomb. And I love knowing that they had a blast filming. It just it makes it more special, I feel like. And I'm with you. The effects are just fantastic.
So good.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
Make sure you follow all of our social media at Chainsaw Girls Pod and send us suggestions or comments at our Gmail, which is
chainsawgirlspod@gmail.com. And I do want to say thank you to everybody that has emailed us. You guys are sending us so many great suggestions.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to like go through the list and start picking out your guys' suggestions, because honestly, we really appreciate it. And you've sent us so many lovely emails, and we just appreciate all of you guys.
Yeah, and we're also very interactive on our Instagram stories. We do ask for suggestions for certain things, like all the Halloween episodes that we covered in the month of October. So things like that. So check that out, because we are very interactive that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube, and leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're using, because it really does help the podcast grow.
Yes.
Okay, bye.